But I thought we should start because it is World Mental Health Day. And I've never given a presentation on World Mental Health Day. And to me it actually is quite significant because I'm sure we have all been touched by mental illness. And I'm sure right now different people come to mind as I even just mentioned that phrase about mental illness. And here we are on a day of passionate educators trying to make a difference, trying to be proactive. Our tagline at our institute is learning to flourish. We're trying to learn how to flourish individually so we can help others, love others, support others, be our best. We're trying to learn how we can help our students flourish. We're still trying to even work out how you define flourishing. There's still so much to do. I reckon you can overdo things. At Geelong Grammar, we've overdone character strengths at times. I've had a student say to me, you asked me to write one more gratitude letter. That'll be the end of me. But we're trying to learn and get that balance right and proactively nurture wellbeing in ourselves, in our students, and then in our organisations. And it's a nice place to be in. And thank you for coming. And I thought if you're happy to, close your eyes and I'll just maybe give us 30, 40 seconds. What makes you excited to be here today on World Mental Health Day? Is it the students in your class you're visualising, your next door neighbours, your family, your parents, your children? I'd just like to have a little bit of quiet space to acknowledge the exciting and important work we're doing. Thank you. So the title of my talk, and Susie kindly referred to it at various stages in her talk, about learn it, live it, teach it and embed it. That's the way we've tried to bring POS-Ed to life at Geelong Grammar. I don't want to imply that that's the right way. It's the only way. I passionately believe the key to the success of positive education, and reiterating what Susie said, is that ground-up approach, that tailoring it to your individual needs, the way that you involve your students, your staff, depending on where they are at the moment. But hopefully this framework can be of some support to assist you in your journey with POS-Ed. But I thought, before I jump into that model, kind of some fairly basic, obvious wellbeing questions that you might have done, and I just want to share a little reflection from me, a little personal story. Not a big, huge, amazing story, just almost an everyday story, because I think it's important that we have them. So the first question is your wellbeing important? As I said, But what's your story on how you explain to your partner, to your children, to your class that your wellbeing is important? And one of mine that's been, it's just kind of hit me more regularly over the last couple of years. I live on campus at Geelong Grammar. So for me, I have about a 3 or 4 minute walk home. And I compare the difference when I walk home after a bad day, whatever that means. When I'm grumpy, when I'm stressed, when I'm focused, when I'm something or other, when I'm late, when I was meant to be cooking dinner, when I forgot that I hadn't picked the kids up, or whatever it is. And then compare my day when I walk home, when my well-being is in a pretty good space. I notice more. We ran a parent course one day, and the parents, at the start of the second day of the workshop, one of the parents said, I'm a bit of a photographer and I took some photos last night. Do you mind if I show some photos to start the day? I said, that'd be a lovely way to do that. She showed these beautiful photos of these trees, turning and kind of the leaves going an autumn colour and so on. I said, whereabouts is that? I walk past it every day. I didn't quite say, where is it? I hadn't noticed they'd turned and changed colour yet. And I walk past there 3 or 4 times a day. And here was a visitor to our campus seeing the beauty. So I notice more. if I see a apple core on the ground, the only days I pick that up is when I go home when I'm okay. I don't pick it up when I'm grumpy and running late. So I'm more likely in such a trivial way to do good when I'm feeling good. I'll go out of my way and go and chat to a couple of students, call out to another staff member walking around, have a little bit of a chat. So maybe it takes slightly longer to get home. That's an example of why my well-being is important. I'm a better person. I'm more helpful, I'm more kind. I see more. So I wonder, what's your little example about, is your well-being important? And I think you could put mental well-being, the word mental in front, you could put physical. And I think you could have some great examples. Then is our students' well-being important? Again, duh. But what's your example? I think about our 4 kids at home as I try to get them up to play the piano in the morning. There's got to have to be a little bit of humour or some positive emotions on occasions. There's got to be some feedback, and what type of feedback do we give them, and what's their purpose and meaning from playing the piano? I think of one kid who quite some years ago now gave me the bird halfway through my math lesson and walked out. What on earth is that about? This kid I just had never been able to connect with. It was still, mid-term 1. And because he'd gone to that level, then of course parents were called in and it suddenly became quite a significant kind of event. On the very first day of that year, I asked that kid a question in class that he couldn't answer. I had no idea, couldn't even remember it. But he felt embarrassed, and he felt that, had lost all respect for me. And subsequently, over the coming 3 or 4 weeks, till it got to as bad as kind of giving me the bird, he basically hadn't done any maths. He certainly hadn't concentrated in class. He was certainly more worried about chatting to his mate or worrying about how to make class difficult for me. And suddenly, I was just this morning at Kate's workshop from Perth College and hearing about the talk it out couch. Once we kind of talked it out and the relationship improved and that student's well-being had stronger relationships within it, suddenly started doing some maths. Again, I'm not telling you anything that's, oh wow, that was amazing what Justin shared. I'm just wanting to say your own story, your own example, I think is probably more powerful than a 1.56743 on a randomised control study, even though I love my maths. So have your stories, and hopefully we can conclude that yes, our collective well-being is vitally important. What about if I ask you this one then? So if we agree that our well-being is important, can you nurture it? What's our fixed or growth mindset around our well-being? I think it's dynamic across the course of the day. I think it's dynamic across the lifespan. But I think I can nurture my well-being. What's my example? A couple of years ago, I didn't know anything about mindfulness. I've had half a dozen goes of trying to have a regular practice, failed most times. I'm back on the horse again and trying for a couple of weeks of trying to just do what I'm doing now is a little 3-breath routine that I do about 5 or 6 times a day. First breath just to calm myself and to be in the present moment. Second breath to express gratitude for something. And the third breath to say, how do I want to be today? Just something I'm working on. I'm trying to write a gratitude letter every day for a year. I reckon that's making a difference to my well-being. So I think I can nurture my well-being. So if I have that belief in myself and I'm passionate about that, then the next logical question is, can students work on their well-being? Can we teach them things that will make a lasting difference? Can we give them skills that will help their well-being? Do you genuinely believe it? What's your examples? What's your stories around that? I'd like to share some research results from Melbourne University that they've done on our Geelong Grammar School program, and then like to share some little quotes from some students to share this idea that I passionately believe that we can improve our students' wellbeing and our own wellbeing. This report, warts and all, is on our website, and when I say warts and all, there's plenty we're not doing right, plenty we can improve on and work on, and that's why you do research, not really just to try to get a tick. It's to kind of say, how can we improve? What do the students say that would make it better? In which areas, which students are benefiting from? How long is it lasting, and so on. But this kind of 60, 70 page report is available on our website. It's a 3-year longitudinal study that Melbourne University have been tracking our Year 9 students in particular. We have a control group, which is a range of students from socio-economically matched students from a range of independent private schools in Melbourne and Sydney. We were pleased to see at the end of the first year, back in 2013, that the Year 9 students that they were tracking showed increases in wellbeing, life satisfaction, and decreases, where the blue lines here, in depression and anxiety. And that led to one of the key messages from the report saying that yes, the explicit delivery of positive education can make a difference, can protect from declining mental illness issues, and also says that students are able to use positive strategies. This research has got experienced sampling methodology where the students are beeped randomly 4 times a day, cortisol level testing, heart rate variability measuring, as well as the online surveys, a very complex, comprehensive survey, hopefully of value to the field. And what it says is that students are able to. So in term 1, when an event occurred, whether positive or negative, they weren't using strategies that they were using in term 3 or term 4 once they had learnt some of these skills. Encouraging data. But also it showed in the first year, they also just got a snapshot of the wellbeing of our Year 9, 10 and 11 students. All those graphs are Geelong Grammar School students. And in a nutshell, the summary kind of says, well, Year 10 wellbeing stayed about the same, but Year 11 wellbeing, if you look down the bottom, and the Year 11s there are the yellow, there was increased depression and increased anxiety still in our Year 11 students. And that led the report to kind of recommend, one, that we need more guidance to make it as relevant to our students as possible. And a real piece of learning from me in my 6 years in the role at Geelong Grammar is we are only now just starting to engage our students enough in the decisions and in the development of the program. We were well intentioned, but we were probably a little bit much doing wellbeing to them rather than wellbeing with them and getting their voice. And it said, why don't you consider running, because our explicit teaching finishes at the end of Year 10, consider running a resilience retreat. We called it a psychological flexibility retreat. Touched on ACT and the DNA model and developed that for our students. And a student wrote back at the end of that retreat, and the authenticity of the email, with the slightly scary first sentence or so. Oh, that was another pointless POS-ed thing, sort of kind of along those lines. The things I learnt have now instantly helped my stress and has brought a lot of things into perspective. As we touched on acceptance and commitment therapy, as we touched on mindfulness, as we refreshed some of their POS-ed knowledge. Feedback like that encourages us that our students can certainly learn skills for their wellbeing. Can they learn activities? I spoke about that I have a current goal of trying to write a gratitude letter every day. Here's just a little 3-minute clip of one of our Year 10 students and the impact of writing a gratitude letter. We teach gratitude for 2 weeks in Year 10. We talk about and discuss what gratitude is. Can you always feel grateful? What are you grateful for? They make their gratitude, which is a cube full of photos of things that they're grateful for. And then in their second week, they write a gratitude letter. It normally goes to a parent, to a teacher back up at Timbertop, or to someone that we don't know. This Year 10 student thought that he'd write his letter to his Year 12 sister. And so therefore we had that opportunity that someone who was still at the school was receiving the letter. It happened one day. We asked the very next morning, would you mind just popping into our office and could we just film you? The authenticity of this letter, I think, is the impact as an example that positive education and this work we can do together can have.
This was the second week, I think, of our gratitude lesson, and the assistant head of house, Ms. Stewart, who was taking our lesson, wanted us to write a gratitude letter to someone who we thought that made you feel happy or made you feel something to be thankful for over the years. And I thought that, you know, if I write to my mum, that my dad would feel left out, or if I write to my dad, that my mum would feel left out. But since that, you know, my sister's just been one of the closest friends to me throughout my years, and I know her the best, probably out of anyone, that I decided to write to her, and as is her and her final year here, that, you know, I wanted to say a few words and just let her feel that, you know, I'm always there for her, and so I decided to write a letter.
So I was in my room studying, and my assistant head of house came to knock on my door, and she said, "Oh, I've got something for you." And I went, I'm in trouble. And she said, "No, I've just had contact with your brother, and I've got to know all the year 10s, and we did gratitude today, and they all wrote a letter." I guess it sort of gave me a bit more of an understanding of our relationship, because, you know, guys don't really talk about their feelings as much, and I guess this sort of really showed how much he's always going to be around for me, and how much he does really love me, even if he's around his friends and he doesn't sort of show anything, or, yeah, I don't know, it made me feel really good at the time, and I got it. So he said, "Not many siblings have a friendship or siblingship like ours, and that's what makes our relationship so much better. I don't know what it would be like here at Geelong if I didn't have my older sister with me. And, you know, I'm always here for you, and I'll love you through all the tough times, and I'll never let you out of my side. And every time I see you, it always makes me smile on the inside, because I have the best sister in the whole wide world. And thank you for all the support for me through everything, footy, work, family, and you'll always be there for me, as I will always be there for you." I think that made me feel really good. It was love.
We can make a difference. We can make a difference in very simple ways. So wellbeing is important. We can nurture our wellbeing. Should schools do it? Without a doubt, I say yes, but certainly not solely. Of course, families should be trying to nurture wellbeing. Grandparents, parents, communities. There are many fantastic community organisations, from church youth groups to scouts to guides, and on the list goes to sporting organisations that of course should also be nurturing nurturing wellbeing. But it's well known that families look to schools for advice. It's well known, as Susie shared, parents want it. They're looking for support. So I think, regardless of how busy our curriculums are, it is a role of schools in this day and age to teach these skills. So then what are these skills? And various workshops have showed different models, and this is our model. And I don't think it matters particularly. If you're referring to the science, we put optimism under positive emotions. Some people put it as a key domain. Great. Make it unique and tailor it to what makes sense to your group. On our website are free downloadable research summaries of each of those domains, justifying the research and the evidence around there, if you just go to our website. Well, then the question becomes, well, what's the best way then to teach them? And I think this quote has got some real messages there for us. That schools are actually pretty good in putting in new programs. We do this program, we've got this. And actually, if I was to be honest, Geelong Grammar School, in some ways, some staff there are kind of, well, what's next? Kind of, we've done POS-Ed. You know, can we have something new and exciting for the next few years? Because I'm kind of, you know, some of it's a bit like that. Whilst, yes, we understand people are resistant to change, we also like something new that's attractive and draws us in. And I feel they're at quite a challenging stage that Geelong Grammar's in now, of the year 7, year 8 phase of then how do we consolidate our program, continue to innovate our program. But this quote here suggests separate programs in isolation aren't as effective as an overall framework where the school has made a commitment to it, detailed that, got the entire community on board, appointed some people to give them time and resources to try to make a comprehensive program. So for us is the learn it, live it, teach it, embed it. Yes, in some ways sequential, but it loops back and you can start in different ways. Could I just spend the last 10 minutes talking about that? We train all our staff, teaching and non-teaching, before they start at the school. We give them refresher sessions throughout the term. We're able to offer training to our parents and training to our OGs, our Old Geelong Grammarians. That's a photo of the staff who are new to Geelong Grammar School, our 4 different campuses, teaching and non-teaching, this January at the end of their 3-day course. You can imagine when you do a course like that before you've even started at a school, you're getting a pretty clear message about what's important. And they're hearing about, wow, this school's interested in my wellbeing. This course is nothing about how to teach it. It's all about, we just want you to learn it. We want you to turn to this other person and talk about your character strengths. We want you to write a gratitude letter. We title it POSED for you. Our booster sessions, 1 per term. The school commits that each staff member teaching and non-teaching will get the equivalent of 1 day of POSED PD across the course of the year. And you can see the survey results from our staff from last year. Not all of them finding it valuable and effective, but a large number are saying, thank you for having a focus on our wellbeing. Thank you for allowing us to learn more to apply it. Our parent training, this is just a little pilot study of 25 parents and 25 parents who haven't done the course who want to do the course. The red dots are the ones, the parents who did the course. And it showed that the course post the course to a 2-month follow-up had increased wellbeing, the parents had decreased wellbeing, and they felt closer and more connected to the school. I've felt in my pastoral roles as a teacher over the last 25 years, I've got along well with some parents. I've never felt I've had such a relationship compared to when I've trained some parents in positive education. And that difference then when the phone calls and the communication happens. Still only 150 of our parents have been trained, have taken up that opportunity. So I don't want to imply that every parent's been trained at all. And one of the challenges for all of us, how do you get the parents who maybe need it the most to come to these sessions? When you look at that photo, old Geelong Grammarians, some are grandparents who send their grandchildren to the school. Some have just left the school 30 or 40 years ago and it's new and wanted to learn more about it. How do you help the community to learn about it? How do you keep learning? We're such in a lovely time now. There are so many university courses, so many organisations, so many journals, that if you're passionate, enjoy learning about this. Then let's go and live it. Because it's pointless learning it and not living it. And it certainly doesn't work trying to teach it if you don't live it. And some of the feedback from our students is, well, if I've got a particular staff member who I don't feel is particularly grateful, and they're trying to talk to me about gratitude, it just doesn't work. We are fortunate that in our explicit teaching of POSED, the teachers have always volunteered to do it. And we currently still have more teachers who want to teach it than we have spaces for. I would hate to think about the other alternative. Oh, this staff member's got a few periods that they're a bit short. Could they teach a bit of POSED? You want to be trying to live it. What's your ongoing wellbeing journey? How are we just trying to make it alive on a day-to-day basis? Some little photos. That's our newsletter that goes around our community to share stories about it. They're our Year 12 maths class just before they start the lesson doing a little bit of mindfulness. We watch a weekly TED Talk. Sometimes 3 students turn up, sometimes 30 turn up. That little card is in your pack. We try to stay abreast of some of the big key celebration days or events and just try to make them alive at the school. So we're trying to live it. Then it's time to teach it. And I think we should teach it explicitly as a subject at Geelong Grammar School. That's from years 5 to year 10. But implicitly as well in our geography curriculum, in our music curriculum, in our art curriculum. And it's still an area that we're trying to work on and consolidate and look forward to sharing in the future with you. Feedback again from our students is explicit teaching. They don't love workbooks. They don't love filling in worksheets. They like talking about it. They love doing it. So wherever possible, to make your lessons as hands-on and experiential as possible. But sometimes maybe they're not meant to love it. Learning that you've got thinking traps that you slip into that are quite harmful to your well-being is not a glamorous thing to learn. I have no intention that positive education should be about entertainment, and what an amazing YouTube clip I watched that lesson. Sure, there's a balance of that, but sometimes you just need to work and develop these skills and practice them because I've still got thinking traps. It's quite a human tendency. That's just an example of what we teach our year 10s to show you the curriculum example. And the complete opposite of the gratitude letter, there's our junior school with a kid expressing what they're blessed for, having so many colours around them. So as we develop a scope and sequence. Finally then, to embed it. You leave yourself open to criticism, and rightly so, if you then don't embed it across your policy documentation, the way you appraise staff, the way you write in your newsletters, the way we write our letter to our parents who have not paid their school fees. Now, it's not a POS-Ed letter and it goes, oh, you haven't paid your school fees, don't worry, come for nothing. It's not that, but still the language that you choose to use can be appropriate and has been tweaked from our school over the last 5 years because of the influence of positive education. We are very fortunate that the school has allocated resources to have a campus coordinator on each campus. This is at our Timbertop campus, and every staff meeting, every recess time for the last 5 years has started off with a WWW, a what went well, without fail. Some positive emotion, a laugh, sometimes it runs a bit over time. We're trying to embed it. So I hope that's of some use to you. How you will tweak it and tailor it is completely up to you, and I wish you every success on that journey. That's the front image of our book. And if that's a useful book to you, with expert introductions written by people who have been to Geelong Grammar School and have enriched our program, and then examples and quotes from students and case studies and fully referenced for you to go back to look at the resources and the research around that. Really exciting to be here. Thank you, Susie. Thank you for everything that is happening over here in Perth, and all the best.